So I was just notified that it is illegal that for my wife, Carolyn, to live off grid. So that means I've got a lot more chores to do in my future now that I suppose she's gonna have to leave me. So I thought I'd show you around some of her chores that I'm gonna have to take over. And then I'll explain more about it being illegal for her to live here. Today she brought in the wash tub to do laundry because she thought it was a little cool outside. Started laundry, it was 50 degrees outside. Well, now it's like 75 degrees, but she thought it was gonna be cool all day. This gives her the advantages also that she can use the hot water heater. I suppose this should be water heater, but this is our on-demand water heater. It's a little camping water heater. It works fantastic. It's propane. Water comes in and it automatically flashes heat, and you just control the temperature with this knob. You can control how much water comes through with this knob. Varies the pressure. So she used hot water today. A little spoiling, I suppose, huh? She just takes the plunger here and plunges it. And that's her wash water. And then today she said she wanted to rinse outside. And she has two tubs. One for the wash and one for the rinse. Now the rinse water I just filled up with the well instead of using hot water. So she comes out here. I guess it's not as hard to rinse as it is to wash. So she didn't mind coming out in the cold to do that. But here's the rinse tub. Now in the summertime, she'll put the wash tub here and the rinse tub over here. And she seems to like it this way. They're two different sizes. One's a 25 gallon, the other one's I think a 30 gallon. And then she has her little spinner to spin out the water. She loves this thing. She has two of them. This one breaks sometimes. I have to order parts to fix it. The bearings seize up on it for whatever reason. I try to keep them greased, but it just never seems to work. And if she forgets and it leaves it out here in the wintertime, when it freezes, those bearings seize up from the being frozen. This is hard to do with one hand. There's two pull ropes here. And you pull it and it spins the tub. Now a lot of people are going to say, oh, that doesn't hold much laundry. Well, we don't have much laundry. You know, she does laundry 2 or 3 times a week, and she seems to really enjoy it, so I guess it holds more laundry than you think. But she puts sheets in it, and I don't know, 2 or 3, 4 or 5 spins, and it's all wrung out. Works pretty well, but regardless, I guess people don't think that's a good device. Now, I've told Carolyn many times she wants to get an electric wash machine. They have these little apartment-sized wash machines. Last one I had years ago, got it from Walmart, and you can just hook it right up to your sink, plug it in, you got water, and then the drain hose, you kind of put it in the toilet or wherever. And then Carolyn also does the cooking, and she comes outside and cooks. This is where she wanted her kitchen. You know, being in a tiny house, I insisted that she have her kitchen inside, but she said no, she didn't want all those smells and fumes and everything in the house all the time. And she likes coming out here to cook. I mean, nice beautiful day like this. When it gets cold, the only downside to this is she has to come in and out of the house so much. With our wood stove, I can light it in the morning. At 2 or 3 o'clock, I'm needing to light it again. You try to keep all the heat in the house as long as possible so you don't have to light the stove again too early. I like to try to keep it at 8 hours as much as possible. But when she's in and out, of course, all the heat comes out quite rapidly. On the other hand, when it's too hot in the house, and sometimes that happens, you get too much firewood in there and it gets really hot, then you're almost begging her to go and cook something. She's got 2 tables out here to kind of prepare her food. And then we used to have 3 stoves, but now we only have 2. The other one kind of gave up. They don't last as long as you would hope, but I don't know, one of these days we might get a full-size stove and hook up the propane tanks to it. She did that in her past. So if we find one, we might do that. And then we have another propane stove that we use exclusively for canning. Instead of canning on this stove and tying it up all day, then we can still cook or make her coffee and make her lunch and supper on this stove, and while we're canning on the other stove. But I don't know why I made it exclusively. That's the canning stove, but that's just my personality. When it's not so windy and there's not a lot of dry leaves around, she cooks a lot out here on her setup. Now she's kind of, well, she's either had me help her with this setup or she's done it, but here she has a little rocket stove or a stove or however you want to look at it. She can make this into a rocket stove with a little adapter, which I don't see right this minute, but stick an adapter in there and it really gets the flames shooting up pretty high. But this is just 2 old tire wheel wells. I guess there's 3 of them, sorry. And I cut a hole in there so she can feed the firewood in it. And she keeps wood split all the time. And then she has her oven. It has a thermometer on it, and she cooks all kinds of stuff in here. Since we've went on her carnivorous diet, she hasn't cooked quite as much in this, but she still uses it. And then on the stove, I should have showed you that, she has a cast iron pot with a lid, which also can become a Dutch oven. Now, she is making summer sausages now. So here's the cast iron pot. Now she puts a little, oh, there it is, it's in there. So with this thing, she can make summer sausage. She mixes hamburger and sausage together, and the sausage is usually pork butt that we grind up. We have a hand grinder, meat grinder, and she makes homemade sausage, homemade summer sausage, and it turned out really good. Now you see the eggshells here. We dry out the eggshells, and then she crushes those up into a really fine, I wouldn't say powder, but you get the idea. And that gives the chickens calcium. They can continue to lay eggs. Those eggs can get pretty soft pretty quick. Now, of course, she also has this dehydrator out here. She has a lot of eggshells on, but in the wintertime, you just will put them on the stove and dry them out, and that gets all the yuckies out of it. But you can see here that she's got a bunch of them in the sun dehydrator. She's got her shelf out here of a lot of other different products. Popcorn. We occasionally still have popcorn even though we're on a carnivorous diet. Like I said, she's been making summer sausage, so we haven't been eating the popcorn, which is a carnivorous snack for us. And she made a good 2 pounds of it. It was pretty impressive. Now, it's not like the summer sausage. She didn't put it in a sleeve, although she said she could have. So it was kind of in a big lump, kind of like a pork butt, but it was still delicious. Now, I know a lot of people will say, I don't think Carolyn's a real person. There has been a lot of people, every time I say this, will say, oh, I've seen Carolyn on video. Occasionally, she makes her way on video. But Carolyn has social anxiety, which has gotten a ton better, don't get me wrong, because of the carnivorous diet. I've talked about that in other videos. She doesn't want to be on YouTube. And one of the rules years ago when I first wanted to start making YouTube videos, she said, as long as I don't have to be on the videos, which is fine by me. But she's still part of my life, so I do talk about her. This is my channel, my blog. So those who think that it is required that Carolyn attend the party, well, you can just go away because she's not going to. But I bet I can get her to say hi. Can you say hi?
Hello.
Okay, there she said hello. Oh no, that's not proof enough. I can hear it now. I don't know what we're gonna do. I mean, I don't want to leave here. I don't think Carolyn does either, but obviously it's illegal for her to be here. The experts, the authorities, the people who know more than anybody else said that she's not allowed to live here. It's abusive. What I'm doing to her is abusive. We live in a modern society now where she's allowed to have modern conveniences. One of the complaints is you make her live in that tiny little home without air conditioning. Because I said in the past that I deal better in summer than she does, but on the other hand, she deals better in winter than I do. And so in a recent video, I said that I'm letting the temperature drop in the house much cooler than I'm accustomed to. Normally, last year, I would start the wood stove up at 68 degrees, but this year I'm waiting until it's 62. So they identified that if she's uncomfortable, that it's my job, my duty, and by law, I need to make sure she's comfortable in the summertime. What they said is she is elderly, and that it's elderly abuse. I'm abusing her because she's elderly. Well, first of all, she's not even old enough to collect Social Security yet. I mean, she's a year away to that. So I don't think that's considered elderly. Most people are still required to work well until they're, now 65, I would say. Most people's got to work until they're 65. So if she's got to cook outside or do some laundry, I don't know if that's elderly abuse, considering she's not elderly. Most importantly, I've never forced her to do anything. If she wanted a wash machine, she'd get a wash machine. I'm always concerned about the size of the house, always. Make sure she's okay with it. Occasionally she says things that make me think she's not okay with it, occasionally. Like yesterday, she said she wished she had more storage spots for canned goods because we can our own food. I think she says these things out of frustration more than she wants a bigger house, because within an hour we had figured out where we can store more canned goods and she was fine again. And she wasn't even angry, it was just frustration. I don't know why this is such a big deal to people, because this is not the first time I've heard it, that in modern society you have to have a washing machine. I don't understand that. We live in a society where we're lazy, and because the washing machine makes us lazy. It would seem to me that doing exercises by squatting down and lifting that rope up, she's got to squat and lift, squat and lift. Isn't that exercise? I mean, people pay big dollars, even elderly, pay big dollars to go to the gym to get the same exercise. And then she's got to plunge, you know, I'm sure there's some sort of exercise there. And then she walks down to the chicken coop several times a day, you know, getting her walk in. And then we do just go for a stroll because we're getting to the age where we think we need to get a stroll, and we take probably a mile, maybe a mile and a half. I've never really gauged it. Walk every day. Now, since I've been sick with the sinus infection, we haven't been walking, but we'll get back to it. So I don't think it's abuse. I think what it is, it's lazy people who can't fathom having to do work. I don't know. What makes no sense to me is I think most people have to work throughout life, have to go get a job. And we figured out a way where we don't have to go work for an employer. We work for ourselves. And I just can't see how this is a bad thing. But there's a lot of people who think it is. Now, Carolyn is older than me. I mean, I have to admit that, but I've not forced her to do anything. She's got every comfort that she wants. If she wanted something else, she would get it. I don't understand that. So for anybody to suggest that she's mistreated, it's just speculation. There's nothing in my mind that she thinks that she's being mistreated. Never has she complained. Anytime she wants something, she gets it, like that cast iron pot is a good example. She hem-hauled and hem-hauled and hem-hauled on that. And I said, Carolyn, I know there is something you want, but you're not telling me. And finally she said, well, I'd like to have a cast iron pot. Now at the time we weren't carnivores, but she wanted to make chicken noodle soup in it on the wood stove. Well, of course, I mean, and it wasn't even a hesitation. She told me what she wanted. I got it on Amazon probably 30 seconds later. That's how long it took. So she can have anything she wants. She enjoys this just as much as I do, if not more. It's peaceful. Nobody bothers us. She doesn't have to go to work. She just comes out here and does her thing. So if you can click this up next box, take to a video where I was talking about being independent. So I hope I can inspire you to truly enjoy your dreams. Thanks for watching.